When it comes to streaming, gaming, esports, and business, one woman stands above the rest. Welcome to Streamer Class, your number one source for everything streaming. Listen to compelling guest interviews about starting and growing a successful channel and turning your passion for content into a career. Now, here's your host, a two-time partner Twitch streamer, owner and director of Evasion GG, and overall non-half-asser, Sigma.
Hi guys, welcome to Streamer Class. My name is Sigma, and today I am joined by the one and only Onepeg. I have known him forever. I absolutely love him to the moon and back. He started content creation in 2018, so he has been around the block, and I am really excited to get into this with him. So welcome, Onepeg.
Hi. Hey, thanks for having me.
It's been one hell of a day. We actually were just sitting here BSing a little bit before we started this, and yeah, I just love catching up with you. Every time we do this, we go, oh, we should do this more often, and then we just get too busy.
We always have good conversations.
Yeah, it's true. Forever. So let me start. I know the answer to this, but everybody else is going to ask, and it's always the first question that I come out with is, where does your name come from?
Okay, so like I used to give people like the meme answer, but the real answer is I played a lot of World of Warcraft. I have characters in World of Warcraft with years of played time, and one of those characters was a shaman. And in World of Warcraft, shamans have like 4 elemental totems, so I named him 4 Pegs. And then when the Legion expansion came out in WoW, they introduced the Demon Hunter, which I was a huge Warcraft fan, and Demon Hunters were always like the cool thing to play, and I always loved that character archetype for Night Elves. So like Illidan was awesome. I always thought he was like super cool. So when we got the ability to play Demon Hunters, I switched my main character to one of those classes, and then because I kind of led the guild that I was in at the time, I kept with like the peg theme of my name and changed his name to Onepeg because I figured he'd be a unit, and then the name just kind of stuck. So I've been Onepeg ever since.
Okay.
And that's really it. Yeah, no cool story. I wish it was like way cooler, but that's it.
It works. It's just something that it's so individual to all of us on how we came up with our names. So I like to hear that. Content creation in general. This is always interesting to see how people got into this career. So how did this happen for you? And tell me about that first stream.
So, I mean, if anybody's seen like a lot of my social media as of late, I've gotten like a lot more overt with stuff having to do with mental health. For me, like mental health has been, I grew up like one of those good old boys or whatever, and I had like manly men in my family that like you never really talked about your feelings and stuff. You just had to be tough. And like you could take a hit, and if you didn't bleed, you weren't working hard enough, like all that. And good values and bad, but no one ever really talked about like mental health stuff. Like I didn't realize that I had ADHD until I was 19. And I had gone all through school like skating. I was an A and B student, so everybody thought I was fine. And then when stress started getting to be worse, I started developing all of those symptoms. So not until I was 19 did I know that I had ADHD. And then I've been dealing kind of like on and off with depression, more or less my entire adult life. And I think, unfortunately, that's a lot of people. So when I got to the point where I started doing content creation, I had always been somebody that kind of like went back and forth on Twitch and watched certain events. I was always like an event-based viewer because I played a lot of Dota, which is like a online battle arena like League of Legends. Watched a lot of Dota, played a lot of Dota, and then they would always have like the international tournament or some larger tournament. I would always tune in to watch those events. So I was familiar with it, and then I did like what a lot of people do is like you end up streaming to like your the guys that you play with. So when I was playing WoW, we do raid stuff, and it would get recorded, so it was an easy way to like record what we were doing, like when we were fighting bosses and everything in raid instances in WoW, and we would have like guildmates watching that stuff. But I never really did it as like a thing where I was trying to like get views. Like I never really even considered it that much. So I was a financial planner for a little bit over a decade. I was in financial services for a long time. I was really good at it. I was one of the top like couple hundred agents, regardless of the company that I worked for. I was always like in the upper echelons of like performance for whatever company I was employed with at the time. But what ended up occurring was kind of toward the end of the days of my career in that field. Based on performance metrics and stuff, they'll give you like a trip. Like you go to Hawaii or you go to Caribbean or you go to Dominican Republic or whatever, and you spend like 4 or 5 days palling it around with buddies, and you go to a couple of like little seminars so that they can all get the tax rate off, and then the rest of the time it's parties.
Yeah.
So one time in particular, toward the end of the run that I had in the financial world, I was sitting at a table or couch something in Hawaii with my wife and like 15 of my peers. One of these guys was getting a little sauced. He was the number 5 manager in the country for the company I worked for at the time. And as I was talking to him, he suddenly kind of like turned and was like, "How much have you made this year?" And when I told him, he said, "Okay, if you were going to do right by your wife, you'd be making double that by now," is what he told me, right to my face. So I went, one day when I grow up, I hope I'm half as big as an asshole as you are. And then we kind of just walked away. I actually said that right to his face. And he was like 6'6" and like 325. He could have crushed me.
You're not some shorty. What are you talking about?
I'm 6'4", but he had like a good 100 pounds on me. He big
I see what
dude.
you're saying.
Yeah. So that was bad enough. And then when I got back home, we got back to New York, this guy was in Manhattan. I live in upstate New York, out in, not the boonies, but like in the burbs in the middle of the state. And the guy that managed my group, I ended up talking to him about it, and it turned out that when I went to him, I was like, dude, this guy, he was like, I don't understand what the hell his problem was. We're talking, and he goes, "Oh, yeah, I know him. He mentors me. I like him a lot." I went, "Oh,
damn."
So what I ended up realizing, and he was getting awards. This dude was, like I said, he was the number 5 performing manager in the country. Like, he had a team of people that was making him so much money that, he never really would have had to work again. He's making millions every year. So I kind of started realizing that it's just another sales gig. And when I got into the business for financial planning stuff, it was based on the level of ignorance that I knew that the general public has about like saving money and preparing for retirement years and, doing things the right way, chalking the wheels. I wanted to do right by people. That was the whole point. I just I could make a good living too, but I just wanted to kind of help and educate folks. That was kind of the idea. And I realized that like at a corporate level, that doesn't matter to them. They don't care about that. Like, yeah, you could do right by people, or you could offer them the product that, all the wholesalers internally are slinging. And if you didn't do that, if you sold away from the stuff that the company had been generating as like a product to potentially fit this bill, the wholesalers would stop working with you. They'd stop giving you like stipends to go and do seminars and stuff because you weren't selling the product that they were slinging. You were selling somebody else's shit. So it wasn't about that, right? It was about the money. It was about making money. That's what they cared about. They want to make money. A lot of businesses are like that, but there's a lot of different ways to make money. So I got like real depressed over that, like real bad. There were days where I'd, put on the suit and tie, I got 5 clients to see today. I'd throw the bag in the car, hop in the car, and then I'd just drive around the block. Go to the next light, take a right. Go to the next light, take a right. Just kept driving around in a circle for sometimes an hour, 2 hours. And then eventually I'd just say, fuck it, and I'd drive back, park my ass in the driveway, go back inside. Because I couldn't see myself doing it anymore because I didn't know if I was doing the right thing by people anymore because I couldn't trust the recommendations that I was given from the people that I was told that I should be able to trust.
Right.
As smart as I was, there's things that other people don't know, and you're taught to rely on people that are experts with product stuff. Like, I'm really good at crunching numbers, but then I got to fit a product to fix the issue or whatever. And people trust me, and I didn't know if I was pulling the wool over people's eyes anymore. So I just said, like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And then it was like, then you get all those like spinning feelings about like, did I just waste 10 years of my life? Shit like that. So, yeah. So then, like, I always was a gamer. I love video games. So then I just started playing video games. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll, stream or something. Like, that seems like it would be kind of fun. And I like subbed to Sequisha and guys like that and like watched. I love Sequisha.
Yeah, love him.
Love watching that, love watching his content, content of other people. And then I watched Sacriel, who's actually a really good friend of mine now, which is really weird. I remember watching Sacriel play Tarkov, and I went, that game looks crazy. And at the time, I had like a gaming laptop with like a 670M GPU or some shit in it, and like a mobile GPU that was like undervolted and underperforming. And I remember I bought Tarkov and I fired it up, and I went to play on Shoreline as my first raid ever, and I got like literally 5 FPS. It was a slideshow. I couldn't even aim at a scav to shoot him.
Oh my gosh.
I remember spawning like near the road on Shoreline over by the tunnel extract, and like I heard the scav yell. I could hear the audio, and then it was like it was like I was trying to look at a web page with like a dial-up modem.
Oh,
like,
that's
so
so bad.
Like there was like
so
a frame,
bad.
and then there was like a frame, and then there was like, and I was like, I don't know what's happening, and then I died, and I was like, okay, I need a better PC.
Yeah.
I parted the laptop out, and I sold the pieces on eBay because it was more money. I could get more money out of the laptop parts than I could by selling the actual laptop. I sold all the pieces on eBay and mailed them off, and then used that to buy like a mini ITX tower with like some AMD parts in it.
Wow.
That my son still uses now. It's got a better GPU in it now, but he still uses like an old, like it's like Ryzen 1600 or some shit.
Wow.
Yeah. So I started getting into streaming because I saw Sacriel play Tarkov, and I thought Sequisha was hilarious, and I was always a performer. Like when I was in my early 20s, I was a stage performer. I was a singer for years, and it was like, all right, cool. So like I can get back into doing something artistic. I can try and be entertaining and stuff, and like I want to get into doing that. And then I was like, and I can teach people like how to play this game better. And like in my first like month of trying to do content creation, I made a video on how to hatchet run customs for 750,000 rubles an hour.
And I want to point out, like, and you get to socialize because you are a social butterfly. You love people.
You know what's funny is I do love people, but I'm like one of those extroverted introverts. I'll socialize, and all of a sudden I hit my limit and like the switch turns off, and then I'm like,
Right.
But I am social.
So
Yeah.
like when you started this though, like, screw it, I'm gonna go full time, pedal to the metal type attitude, or were you like, I'm just gonna test the waters and see if this could actually work?
I was doing it kind of on a regular basis, sort of, kind of, and then there would be like bouts of time where life would get in the way, like some shit would come up, and like I wouldn't stream for like 3-4 days, and then I would because I had 5, like the quintessential like 3 to 5 viewers, like no one was around, like you get into that like discouragement phase where you're like, yeah, there's nobody really watching me. Am I supposed to do this?
Right.
Then you get to like 9 and you're like, oh shit, it's not like just me and my cell phone anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
and like there's like these periods of like you feel like you're stagnating.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I got 10 viewers, I got 12, I got 15.
Never leaves. It never leaves, though. That's the thing. Some people get...
No, it's just like, it's like that now.
If I could just get to 20 viewers, if I could just get to 30, like, it'll never leave. If you get to 300,
now
you're going to
I want 2,000.
Right. If you're 350, you're going to want 450. Like, it just never leaves.
I handled 15,000 on Drops Day, no problem.
Oh. Yeah.
And they were like active chat. They were like shit was scrolling when it needed to. Like,
let me ask you this really quick. I'm going to jump into it. As you were going on, how long do you think it was between like your 3 to 5 to hitting like 10 to 15 viewers? Like, what was this time frame like for you?
It took a while.
Yeah.
It took a while. Yeah. I was at like single digit viewers until like November of 2019, I want to say.
And you started in 2018.
I started in 2018. Yeah, it was like it might have been maybe not that much. No, I think it was. I think I was in like single digit views until maybe Q1 of 2019.
Okay.
So like 20 maybe 30 viewers until like the end of 19. So like I went from like 8, 9 to 12, and then I was at like 25, 30 all through like 19, like till the end of it. I never like really started growing anything until like the very, very end of 19, I think, was when I started getting like 50, 60, 70 viewers.
How did you stay motivated during this time? Because people really struggle with that.
Yeah, so like I was playing, like I didn't just stay on Tarkov. That was the problem, and I should have, I think, because I think I'd be bigger by now if I had, because I wasn't as much of a household name. Like I feel like I'm kind of a household name now. Like people kind of recognize my voice a lot. Like when I'm running around on different maps and stuff, my voice has been recognized like a dozen times since 12-12 on live, since we got VoIP, which I think is crazy.
So cool.
Yeah, it is so cool. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I played like a lot of Ark, like on the like PvP official servers and stuff, because I saw that like back then the game was getting a lot more traction and a lot more people watching it because there was a lot of wars and stuff going on, and that was cool. And I liked all the trash talk.
You? No.
Yeah, dude, I love messing with trolls. I think it's great. But yeah, so there was that, and like I was skipping around. I was playing like Conan Exiles, and I was skipping around on like different games, and then but I kept coming back to Tark. Like kept coming back, kept playing it, and it just kind of kept like drawing me back in. So, your last question when you were talking about like going full time and stuff, I went from 2018 to like midway through 2019. I started like actually going in like full time hours. So I was like. Basically like around the time that I got back from Hawaii, like summer of 19, when we got back from Hawaii, I was like, I got to do something else, and that was like bringing me joy. So I was like, screw it, and then I just started like going in a lot harder on it, and I was going to work during the day, and then I would get home and I would stream, and I go to work, get home, stream, or like days that I had like really light, no clients or something, and I would stream during the daytime, and that's kind of how I grew it. I was doing 80 hours a week between streaming and my normal like full-time gig. And then I remember my wife and I having a serious conversation about it. And it was right. I had a stream with Kings at the tail end of 2019, around like the time that the whole Erotic drama happened with the DMCA claims and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. At the time I was an emissary and I quit over it. I was an emissary for Tarkov. That. And I quit over it, and I made a video about it, and I was like, look, like, I'm either a content creator or I'm going to be part of this deal. And I was like, I'm a content creator, and I believe in, like, the content creation aspect of this more than I believe in, like, towing the line. So, and, like, that got a lot of attention in a good way, I think. Yeah. And then at the tail end of that year, kind of following that, I ended up doing a stream with Kings, and he went hard to meme, and I loved it. Because I had never played like, dude, this whole thing could be a joke. I never played it that way. I was always a tryhard.
Right, yeah.
He was a joker. And then that led into like him working with Omsad and developing Bitbot. And then him and I were the first two people to ever use Bitbot. He was like 2 weeks in front of me. I was the first paying customer Omsad ever had. And then we just started going hard on like the Bitbot stuff, shooting each other for money. And I was like, and I made like $250. Like streaming with him on the first day when we were like messing around. I was like, I just made $250 in like 4 hours. Like, holy shit, I can actually make real money doing this. And then I went to my wife and I was like, I just made $250. and then that turned into months later having a serious conversation at like the beginning of 2020 or 2020, very beginning of 2020. No, the very beginning of 2019. So I went through all of 2018. The end of 2018 was when I played with Kings. Beginning of 2019, I told my wife, look, if I can pull off enough money to pay bills for a quarter, I think I'm going to quit.
Oh.
And she was like, okay. And then I started keeping a ledger. I kept a daily ledger with like financial planner. I kept a daily ledger of like, this is how much money I earned today from each source. And then I had like a rolling 7 and rolling 14 and rolling 30-day average on like how much I was earning on an averaged out basis. And like charted the whole fucking thing out and then totaled it up at the end of each month and kept track. And then I think I started doing that in like November, like after 2-3 weeks after I started like messing around with Kings. And then from January to the end of March of 2019, I had like paper, like, look, I can pay the bills. And I was like, fuck it, I'm quitting. So then I quit.
Wow.
And like that was it. Like I was able to prove to myself that I could pay the bills off of it, and then I just went hard. From then on out, it was like a 100-hour week.
Yeah.
It's been a 100-hour week for like 3.5, 4 years.
Any minute now, it's gonna stop, and then it doesn't.
So, a couple of years ago, two and a half years ago, my son's a skater. He's super into it. He loves it, and it's great. Like keeps him in shape. He's doing all these crazy tricks. I'm like, dude, you're a wizard. He loves it. Makes like these little Instagram videos. His buddy that lives in the neighborhood, his buddy's mom would like drive back and forth And on the weekends, every once in a while, they're like, can you drive? I can't. I'm working, So at some point, it got discussed. My son's like, yeah, my dad, he streams like video games on the internet. And this lady went like hard to Karen at one point, and she kind of started complaining about how she was the one driving everywhere. It's like, okay, I understand that you're frustrated. At one point, she's complaining to my son, who's like 15, 14, something like that, complaining to my son about how she's driving everywhere because I can't be bothered to because I'm sitting at my house playing video games all day. And I have a text message of it from whenever ago where she's actually like complaining about how I'm at home playing video games instead of like participating in the carpool. And I had to explain to her that this is my career.
Right.
Like she wasn't getting it. And I remember reading the text to my wife. I'm like, well, you're sitting at home playing video games all day. And I was like, yeah, I kind of am.
Right. On one hand, yes, we're playing video games, but it is way more than that underneath the surface. Yeah.
Kind of have to if I want to make sure that we can keep the lights on.
This is a damn job.
A little important. Yeah.
Well,
so that conversation had happened. That was funny.
I like it. I've been told that before. Like people all the time think there's no way, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It just says what it is.
I think on the surface it's relatively simplistic to understand, and people just figure like it's easy to pull off with like minimal effort.
Sure.
But there's people in the world that think that people that do stand-up comedy is minimal effort.
Yeah.
And they don't see them like in the shit for the first 10 years of their career if they ever get out of it, doing open mic nights and getting booed off stage because they're awful.
Yeah, we're pretty much rowing the same boat on that one. You could be booed right off the stage here. You still got to put yourself out there and be brave enough to do it.
Yeah, dude, I mean, like, you only have to stay live. You only have to be live like 40 to 50 hours a week and upload a video to YouTube every 3 days minimum.
Yeah, it's only like another 30 hours behind the scenes a week.
Yeah. Do that for like 3 years, and yeah, you'll eventually get to the point where you can pay rent.
Yeah. Oh, and don't forget about the rigs you have to buy, and the lighting, and the camera, and the overlays, and the graphics, and
we all got like 15 grand to set aside for that, right? That's no problem.
God, we're terrible. We're terrible. But it's true. What we're saying is true. And don't forget setting up your LLC and opening your business bank account and maybe filing your trademark. And like
keeping track of every penny that you spend and earn because you have to file taxes now because you're self-employed.
Yeah. How many streamers, content creators out there have I talked to that all of a sudden write me and they're like, I just got a $5,000 tax bill. I got a $20,000 tax bill. I got a $25,000 tax bill. What do I do? And I'm like,
pay it.
You pay it, and then you learn your lesson. Like, you have to start tracking this stuff.
Remember those days when you got a paycheck every week and you were like, why did they take out 20% from taxes? Yep. That's what you have to do now, but you have to do it for yourself, which means you have to be regimented, which is not easy.
Well, you know what? That's perfect, because the next set of questions talks about your schedule. Like, is sticking to a schedule important to you, and what does a normal day look like? Because I know you don't take days off even if you're not streaming. So what does a normal day look like, streaming or not?
If I'm live, I go live in the morning. I try to get up as early as I can, but I'm a dad. I have 3 kids. One of them is a toddler. So my situation's a little unique. Like if you're 22, like I always look at it like this. If you're like 22 to 27, you're living in a studio, 1-bedroom apartment, whatever, and your only obligation is like to yourself and like maybe like a significant other, you have way more time than you think you do. I know that that's hard to say or believe, and I sound like a friggin' boomer when I'm saying this, but there's a lot less responsibility in that than there is in like the way that I have to manage my time. So I have kids. I have to not stream at 2 p.m. or earlier 2 days a week because I have to leave to pick up my children 2 days a week. I have to drop my children off at school. We get up early because the baby goes, I'm awake, and like you have to get up out of bed. So if I'm up until 1 a.m. and the baby's screaming at 6:45, I'm getting up. We don't get a lot of sleep. And there are a lot of evenings where I am editing or tracking audio or something until 1, 2, and 3 a.m. sometimes. And then I get up at 6:30 because my son has to go to school. So there are days like that. But a typical day for me is like I try to get up relatively early because I have to stream during the day because at somewhere around 5 to 5:30, my wife gets home with the baby. and we got to eat. And I'm usually the person that cooks. I don't mind cooking. My wife is very good cook. It's just that, you know, she works during the day too, and she went and picked the kid up. So I figure, like, if I'm done at 4, then I can cook food and have it kind of ready if I can get away with it. But then, like, we hang out, have dinner, baby takes a bath, baby goes to bed, other kids go to bed, read bedtime stories if they're here to my my 12-year-old, 11-year-old. We have like a thing I read to her every single night. We always read like a chapter of a book. I think we're on like our 30th something book. Wow. Now we're reading through like the His Dark Materials like trilogy. Awesome books. But yeah, I do like character voices, like the whole spiel. It's awesome.
I can see that.
Yeah. I got like old men and angry ladies and like all kinds of shit. Like it's great. She loves it. But we do that, and then when that's done, you know, hang out with the wife for half an hour if I can, and then it's like, all right, I gotta get back in here. So then it's like content stuff, you know, because I got promos to record and videos to do and research to get done, and that's 7 days a week, right. Every day, like literally every day. If I take a day off from streaming and I'm like, oh yeah, I got to take a mental health day, which is true. The problem with the mental health day is that the mental health starts feeling worse because I feel like a turd because I didn't go live and I felt like I should have. Like there's no such thing as a day off because you start feeling guilty that you didn't work instead, which is weird, but it's true. And usually those days are the days that I'm like, all right, well, I have this massive video that I know is going to take me at least another 7, 8, 10 hours worth of editing to get done because I tested some crazy shit. It's like, all right, well, I need to get that done. So I guess I'm doing that today. And then I post a video at like 5 p.m. that day that I'm like, yeah, I'm taking the day off. And then it's like, yeah, I went start to finish on a video that I needed to post. So, yeah. 100-hour week.
Well, that I do have a question about that is how many hours a week behind the scenes do you put in?
When I'm not live. So, if I'm live for an 8-hour day now, it's a long time because for me, the focus has been more on getting YouTube stuff done on a very regular schedule, like every 3 days to 3 to 5 days, 5 days max. 3 days normally is what I try to do is a video every 3 to 5 days, 5 days on the outside. Because what I've realized is YouTube as a platform is a very, very strong driver to people that come to my streams because they're like, dude, I watched this video. I saw this. Dude, I saw your video on blah, blah, blah. I love your stuff. I get that constantly. I get that more than I get people that show up in my streams to just be like, hey, saw you were like live or whatever. I saw the thing on Twitter. Like it's YouTube feeds people into streams, multi-platform stuff. You have to do it. Yeah, you have to.
It's true. Like honestly, even streamer class, we have maybe 200 subs. I mean, this is tiny. I'm just doing this because I love it. People are still showing up in my streams like, hey, I found you from YouTube on streamer class. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So shout out to all the people that take the time to come say hi to us when we're live on Twitch.
The stuff that you're doing is stuff that I wish that I knew or had like reputable places to get it from because the rest of it is just trial by fire. Like you figure it out as you go.
It's hard. Even things now, I'm 4 years into it and there's things now that pop up that I go, damn, I wish I would have known.
Still learning. Yeah.
All the time.
How
many hours a week behind the scenes?
So behind the scenes stuff, I'm usually live about 4 to 6 hours now. And then it's usually another like 4 to 6 hours worth of like emails or answering stuff or talking to people about like I'm trying to research this thing or trying to get answers on questions or you know going into a raid because I'm trying to like I'm gonna loot 50 stashes or some shit to see like what the loot distribution is like because I'm gonna make a video about that or like pulling every image for every piece of armor in the game because I want to make like a comparative list of like all the different armor types, you know, like in the game and why I think some are better than others, which I'm doing right now. That I've got all the images, but still, like those things all take time. And then it's like, I got to write a script that's 4,000 words long and then I've got to record it. And then I've got to get like the imagery of like shit that goes along with it. And then I got to add effects and pull memes. And so it's like, you know, a week, probably 30 or 40 hours at least. And then you're doing SEO optimization and like all the other stuff that like you normally would hire people to be able to do, you know, because I got to make sure all the keyword search shit is right. And I've got to make sure that the description is right. And then I've got to make sure the thumbnail looks good. And like I got a thumbnail editor now that I pay to make those. So that's cool. And he's really good. And he's like good on short notice. And the whole while I'm combating my ADHD and praying hyperfocus kicks in.
I'm telling you, like, that's the thing, is that you think you're going to be a streamer, but you don't realize that you're going to get your Google degree in marketing and SEO and graphic design and in Twitter land. Like, there's so many things that go into it. So that's understandable.
Farming engagement that doesn't look like you're farming engagement because, you're trying to make it look natural. Most times, most all the shit that I do is like, it just pops in my head because I'm a meme lord. And then I just brain dump into the ether and see what happens, which is good because like I don't have to try.
Well, so most of the streamers that I have talked to, you are number 8 on our interview list, is they have said it is anywhere from a 1-to-1 ratio to a 3-to-1 ratio, depending on what it is that they're focusing on that week. They said, I might only stream 4 days that week, but it's because I'm doing these, a ton of other things. So it becomes a 3 hours to 1 hour versus live. And then other weeks it's a 1-to-1. But I have never heard less than 1-to-1 minimum. So, and
it's more for me. It's more than that. Because like I said, if I'm focusing on YouTube, I'm doing at least as many hours editing and tracking and researching and all this other crap, like for just the one video game, to put those videos out. Plus, like the news stuff, like when things change in game, like I'm always putting a video out for that stuff so that people get updated. And those things easily take as much time as the time that I'm spending live. But there's more work in the background than there is like the live performance. Because I mean, like, just if I wanted to add a new overlay or something, like I've still got to pull that and be like, yeah, I want it to look this way, and you're like double checking, or like I get an idea in my head and I'm like, hey, can you generate me this thing because I think it'll be hilarious, and you're dicking with OBS for hours. And there's still like plugins and stuff that I want to add to OBS that I haven't done yet because I think it'll be cool and dynamic. And I'm like, I'm tired.
I know, I'm tired. I need a nap. Yeah, we started this whole conversation with me telling you I think today might be a drinking day. I haven't drank since November, but it might be a just go grab a fat glass of wine day. We all have them, but
I fell in my driveway and I drank to take the muscle pain away. I slipped on the ice and ended up like on my shoulders. Like I wadded up like a Looney Tune. It was awful. And it was one of those where it was like, it took my breath away. I was like, oh,
ouch.
And my son's like cracking up in the passenger seat of the car going like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I would have laughed too. Like, I don't blame you.
Man.
But yeah, I drank that day, but that was like for muscle pain. I just needed that shit to subside.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I haven't drank just to like have a drink in a long time.
I might tonight. I think tonight is gonna be the day that I bust out a fat glass of wine. I'm ready and play some Tarkov with my friends. That's how it's gonna go down. Let's talk about this. So I know that you genuinely go out and you do notice a lot of the small streamers that are coming through Tarkov or on their rise through Tarkov. Tell me, what is something that you see small streamers do? Whether it's going to their channel, seeing it on Twitter, you see them in their stream, anything like that. What do you see small streamers do? 1 or 2 things that you're like, damn it, that could be improved so easily. Every small streamer should know this.
Yeah, so the things that I think that I notice like first up are like people that do like the generic alerts. Like nothing is personalized, and I think that in the streaming space you need to have things that are personal to you. In fact, I would argue that just about everything that you do has to be personal to you. So if it's like an audible alert because somebody gave you bits, like one of the first things that you should do is just take a minute and get like a different sound effect and get like a stupid GIF image, like whatever it is that you're gonna do, like just personalize it. Like my follow GIF is the same GIF that I added to Streamlabs or whatever, like the week that I started streaming, just because the nostalgia is real, and it's like this stupid like little baby turtle like just flapping its arms on the beach, and it means fucking nothing, but it's just different. I was just like, that's cute, so that's what it was. And that's what we did, and it just kind of like kept has all along. So that would be the first thing. The second thing is that people need to pay attention to the quality of what it is that they're offering. They tend not to do that, and they don't pay attention to that. All of this, I think, stems from just like not paying attention to like those things. So, somebody comes into your chat and they're like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" And then you're like playing the Jeopardy theme song in your head while you're waiting for them to like notice the fact that somebody wrote something to them. And I think that might just be like an out of practice thing, because maybe if they're only used to having like 5 viewers or something, they're not feeling very interactive, or they're not used to it, or it's a surprise whenever somebody types anything to them. But in those instances, people need to get used to narrating. If there's no one in chat, they need to get used to narrating what they're doing. Like, if you have a thought, speak the thought. Every single time that you have your thought about whatever it is that you're doing in the game that you're playing or the content that you're generating, talk about what you're doing at all times. Like, just, you're David Attenborough and you're narrating your way through the documentary of your gameplay, like whatever it's going to be. Because if you don't get used to talking about that stuff constantly, no one is going to find you interesting enough to sit around, because you're just going to look like another face just staring at a screen while you play video games waiting for somebody to come by and care. And They won't. The more personal that you can make whatever it is that you're generating, the more engaging you become. The more engaging you become, the more viewers you get. The more viewers you get, the more engaging you become. And it just kind of keeps feeding into itself. The more active a chat is, the better creator that I am. But I won't have an active chat if I'm not an interactive creator. And that I think is like the biggest mistakes that I see people making, because this sound quality matters, video quality matters, all that stuff matters. But I mean, there are massive creators that are averaging 4,000 plus viewers a stream that have awful camera angles that are like looking up their nose and they're talking into a mic that they started with in the like early 2000s or some shit and just never bothered switching. And like, they're all there because the people that are interacting with them are genuinely entertaining and funny. So
That's true. I actually do see that a lot, and I don't think it's ever been brought up in this before, is just that stale channel that you go to where they're just not talking. Like, it's not your chat's responsibility to make your stream interesting.
I saw, like everybody else, you end up Googling, like, how do I grow my stream and stuff, and like that was one of the tips that I think stuck with me the most. And then no matter what it was that I was doing, I'd be talking to the wall, but I was talking no matter what it was. And then people would be like, hey, what's up? Like, you have a good radio voice, or like, I would get stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, thanks, and then just back and forth. And that was it. Just keep talking.
That's true. And you never know how many times somebody's like lurked in your channel by the time they actually come around to talking. The
idea of that blows my mind. How many mega Twitch partners I know have stopped by my stream to see what I'm about, and I probably turned them off because I was being a douche, And I'm like, man. And then I'm like, fuck it. Like, I'm willing to deal with the repercussions of who I am. That's fine.
Well, you definitely have been controversial in the past. You've never been afraid to speak your opinion, and you've never been afraid to apologize when you fucked up.
Yeah. No, I think the learning comes in the mistakes. There's nothing wrong with admitting when you're wrong. I'm happy to admit when I'm wrong.
I don't feel like that happens enough, though, for sure. So
it's a lot easier for people to externalize the fault than it is for them to internalize it, And I think the people, like people at the upper echelons of being competitive in general, like, sports, competitive esports, that kind of stuff, they're the best at going like, yep, my fault, I screwed up.
Yeah, because you can't improve that situation unless you know what part of it you own.
You won't grow as a person if you can't figure out what it is that you did wrong.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let's talk about this. So a lot of people, when they're starting out, the first thing they want to do is go and ask like a big streamer, like, hey, Peg, can you come play with me? And, they average like 5 viewers, and we're not trying to shame anybody that's, starting out, but they genuinely want to know how to collaborate. Like, they get very awkward about going out and networking. So how did you do it? How would you recommend somebody that's, averaging 5 to 10 viewers? How do they network? How do they help grow?
I mean, you could shoot your shot. You can always just be like, hey, dude, you want to play games? And 9 times out of 10, the mega creator is going to never have a clue who you are. Guys like me, I'm nowhere close to a mega creator, but I tend to play with my friends if I'm going to play with anybody at all. And I turn down my friends just as often as I say, yeah, let's play some rounds. In that case, I tend to only play with people that I know. The people that I know the best when it comes to this kind of stuff as streamers are streamers that I have watched play and respect and know what they're about and know how their mannerisms are. There are streamers that are as big or bigger than me that I would not play with because I don't feel like our personalities would jive. And that's just how it is. That's not that I like them any less or more than anyone else. It's just I don't think that we would play off of each other well, and that's not a big deal.
No, that's smart.
Yeah, because like if somebody like Kings that went like ultra meme played with somebody that was like hyper sweating it up, it would just annoy them, because the moment that he got paid to shoot somebody in the face, it would just tick them off. They'd get annoyed, and after like third, fourth round, they might play it off and they might, yuck it up for the day, but they're never going to play with kings again, you know? And then nobody really had any fun. And kings made money, which might even jade them even more about it. So, you know what I mean? So I just figure like you got to kind of like fit whoever it is that you're playing with. That also comes with the idea that like if you're somebody that averages 10 viewers, you should be working with other people that average like 10 to 20 viewers. You should stay like I don't like saying stay in your lane sounds awful, but the idea would be you want to work with your peers, like how can I put this? Somebody that owns a small t-shirt company isn't necessarily going to go and call Bezos up on the phone and be like, yeah, let's collaborate on some shirts. Because he'd be like, who the fuck are you? Right. And he might be nice about it, but at the same time, like, you would work with other companies that are similar to yours in size and scope, and then as your company grows, as your business grows, then you work with larger and larger, businesses because you can handle that capacity now.
We've seen it a lot in the streaming world. You see little pockets of friends that, they play with this person and that person, but their pocket tends to stay pretty tight knit. And those 3 or 4 streamers will just run right up the ladder together. And it's true, but it's a great way because not only are you going to play with somebody, you're going to bounce ideas off of each other.
In the Tarkov space, HyperRat, Toothy, Trey24K, that group of like little red armband gang, they're all dudes that average like 10 viewers around the time that the first Punishment tournament came out. And I did like those little spotlight videos on guys, and I was like, this dude's awesome. This dude, Smitty Stone, like these guys are amazing at this game. And then now like Hyper's at 1,000 viewers, Trey's at 1.5K, Toothy's at 7, 8, 900. Like they're all big, comparatively speaking, they're all big now. And it's like you could see it coming, but at the time, like if they were to ring up, if they were to like if Smitty was to write Clean a message like, hey dude, you want to play sometime? Like Clean would be like, I don't know you. You know what I mean? Right. Like why would I only play games with people that I've known forever,
That's true. They did. They totally killed it on that part. And they're not the only ones. There's a lot of others that we've seen out there, but it works. And that's why we try to say focus on it.
Yeah. And it's a level of experience thing too. Because like when you're a streamer that averages 10 viewers, maybe you play with people, maybe you don't. Maybe you talk on Discord to each other, maybe you don't. But you could be like the only streamer with 10 viewers and the other 3 people that you play with don't stream. So you could just have an open mic the whole time in Discord, talking away, right? If you play with Clean, you can't leave your mic open all the time. You're going to thank people for follows while Clean's like trying to focus on what he's doing. He's going to break your balls, or he's going to be like, all right, yeah, we're never doing this again. Like, this is ridiculous.
Right, please use push to talk. Please use push to talk if you are going to be duoing with anybody.
I made that mistake when I was relatively new. Around the time the whole Emissary Exodus thing and that video and stuff came around, like the guys over at Blacksite, when Clean was still doing the Blacksite stuff, I went and played with them. Like that was the thing. Like I went and like kind of hung out with those guys. They're like, yeah, why don't you come over here? Because like you might need help because there's gonna be a lot of people that don't like you now. And I was like, all right, whatever. Donut operator, who's a friend of mine now. I had no idea who the hell he was. He had 300,000 subs on YouTube at the time that I met him, and I had no idea who he was. And they were like, yeah, you've heard of this guy before. I'm like, yeah, sure, of course. I had no fucking clue. And he started playing Tarkov. He's like, yeah, you should play Tarkov with Donut. Okay, open mic. I was open mic the whole time. He's got like 500 viewers. I'm open mic the whole time. I had no idea. And then but I also was like, I don't fucking, who the fuck is this guy? I don't fucking know this dude. Like, I'm like, I got 30 viewers. Fuck this guy. I had no idea. No fucking idea. And then I come to find, I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, dude, I'm really sorry. Like, I didn't have a push to talk key. Like, I wasn't thinking. Like, I'm really sorry. Like, oh, my bad, man. My bad. And I was just like, all right, well, fuck that up. And like, and we ended up being friends afterward. And like, I can play with him anytime now.
Well,
but
he's cool. He's definitely laid back.
But yeah, I mean, like, those are the mistakes that people make, though. They don't think about like, oh, I need to make sure that I don't have a hot mic open all the time, or no over talk, or hey man, let me tell you this story, and you go on 15 minutes while somebody's trying to hear like footsteps and shit, and it's like, dude, you gotta shut up.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm actually gonna wrap this up with this question, and this is absolutely my favorite question. Is you get to go back and tell yourself 3 things to focus on. What are they and why?
Stick to the game that you're known for. I would have done that because what I have noticed trend-wise is that people become very, very well known for a very, very specific game. And then when they get really well known to the point where they can like leave that game and become like variety people, it's because they got really well known at one very specific game. So I would say focus on that one game and stop deviating. Just slog through it and deal. If I was like early on in my career, I would have been like be way more consistent at uploading the content, because now I'm consistent, but I wasn't for like the first year or so. I would have done that a lot differently. I would have uploaded it that stuff a lot differently. And the third thing I would have done would be don't be so controversial with the shit that you say, because now I'm not as controversial as I was then. Then I would burn everything. I didn't give a shit. I would just like, yep, speaking my mind, fuck it. And then I'd realize like, oh yeah, I kind of went off half-cocked there. I showed my ass. I should have done that. I would have just been like, you need to temper yourself a little bit, dude. You know? Now it's like, yeah, you know, I'm a joker. You know, half the shit that I say is just like meme fun, ha ha ha. You know? And if it's something I really believe in, then, you know, it's one thing. But there'd be stuff that I'd go off, like, I'd pop off about, and that, you know, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? You don't need to say that shit. You know? Like saying, you know, like making videos back when where I was like, yeah, I think the guys at BSG don't know what the hell they're up to, like marketing wise. Like I don't get these dudes at all. They need a PR person, like they're ruining their name, and you know, I just need to shut up. You know, just play the game. Shut up.
That happens. Well, good. This was fun. I really enjoyed this. You guys, what I'm going to do is make sure that every single link is down below. Make sure you go and follow Onepeg. Subscribe to him on YouTube. Go say hi to him when he's live. Show him a lot of love. Check out his Twitter. We will see you next week with another interview. So make sure that you follow, subscribe, and all those other things that you know you're supposed to do.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Streamer Class. Links to everything discussed in today's episode can be found in the description. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information or to connect with Sigma, follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and join our Discord. We'll see you next time.